I'm Mike Bedard with Cinema Singularity, and we're talking about So Torn today. Freddie, my first question is for you. You originally made So Torn as a short film, and I'm curious, were you thinking about turning it into a feature while working on the short, or did that come a lot later?
It came a lot later, and it's actually a pretty surreal experience that made the film become a feature. And I don't want to ramble too much, but so the feature is based on a short, which was actually my application film to film school, and specifically the American Film Institute. And their prompt was to tell a story in 5 minutes about a change of heart. And my dad and we co-write. His name is Fred, and I'm Freddie. And I'm actually the fifth Fred. So there's like a lot of Freds in our family, as Calum can attest to. And we started brainstorming a concept that would hopefully get me into AFI or any other film school. And we were very much inspired by the work of the Coen brothers and No Country for Old Men and that premise of coming upon a drug deal gone bad. But we were trying to think of a way to take that premise and spin it on its head with a character we had never seen before in that setup. And we pretty quickly came up with a seamstress. And we just loved, once we figured that out, we loved all the juxtapositions that come with a seamstress, with her thread. And we both have a stop motion background. So we love Rube Goldberg schemes, as you can probably tell after watching the movie. And so we made the short film, which is the inciting incident of the feature, where she comes upon the drug deal and she makes her first scheme to try to commit the perfect crime and steal the briefcase. And we didn't think much of it, and we blasted it out into the world, and I sent it to all the schools. And it actually ended up in the hands of Joel Cohen, who's the person who inspired the whole thing, and he wanted to meet for coffee. And we were terrified, my dad and I, because we thought he was gonna sue us or something because, we ripped him off. But he was the nicest guy, and he was like, turn this into a feature, do it the blood simple method, go to your dentist, anyone you know, ask for money, maintain your voice as a filmmaker. And so that's what we did. I'm sorry again for the ramble, but it was a crazy story to get to the even thinking about making the feature.
And Calum, how did you come to get involved in the film, and what was it about the character when reading the script that made you want to be part of the project?
Well, I'm Freddy's dentist, and he came asking for money for the
Oh,
film,
there it
and
is.
that's how we met. Uh, we first met because we're at the same agency. Shout out to UTA. They really connect people. Uh, they sent me the short film and mentioned that Freddie had another short film that he was looking at making. And I saw the short and I was blown away. And I could not figure out who the filmmaker was because it was both like nostalgic cinema, but also new wave. And it felt like it had a lot of like great American filmmaker influences, but also these European influences. And I just thought, I need to meet this person. I met Freddie. I had no idea it would be such a young, brilliant mind. It felt like it had to have come from someone much older. It didn't make any sense to me. And and I met Freddie and realized that he's just a genius. And that he already had put in years of work, even at such a young age, because he started so young. And so we made another film together, Shedding Angels, which is a short for AFI. And then Freddie called saying we're making a feature out of So Torn, and it was an obvious yes.
Oh, he's way too kind. You can't listen to him. Calum was the nicest person to take the chance on working with me because I had only done the short and a bunch of other shorts, and meeting you, Calum, was the most surreal moment for me because I grew up watching Calum in my living room, and when he was in my living room in real life, I was like freaking out. So, the fact that you were kind enough to work with me and you believed in the concept meant the world.
Should we tell him how when we actually first met?
We should. We
I think
should.
we should tell that story.
Oh
I'll-
yeah.
yeah, sorry to derail this is the problem when Caleb
I
and I.
know.
Oh good. Yeah. No,
This is a
I'd love to
2 hour
talk.
podcast, right?
Yeah. Yeah. No, we got
Okay,
we got
good.
all the time in the world. Yeah.
Good, good.
I had actually met Calum a long time ago, probably when I was 7 at Universal Studios because I think he was doing a charity
It
event,
was a charity signing.
a charity signing, and my mom will never let me forget telling the story because she we were going up to all these, you know, child actors who had, you know, done a lot, and Calum was the only one who was just so incredibly kind and engaging with everybody. And he said hi to me, and he signed my booklet with a smile, and I'll never forget that. So it was the perfect full circle to work with him.
It was completely selfish. I make sure I'm kind to every child in case they end up being the next great filmmaker. I don't
Exactly.
want to take any chances.
Exactly.
So it sounds like there's this labyrinthian thread between you two over all these years, and it's all intersecting into this kind of Rube Goldberg machine of
I
delivery.
love that. I love
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Freddie, I wanted to talk about there's a lot of practical effects in the movie, and I learned from speaking with Caroline and Kay that the button sequence at the beginning of the film, where like she drops the button and then it like rolls down, you like made a device to like drop the
that.
button and make sure it. So I have to know how long did it take to make whatever the contraption was, and then how many times you have to drop the button to get that shot.
It took forever. And the contraption itself was fairly simple. My dad and I built it, and it's basically just two pieces of cardboard with a little ramp, you know, in the middle, so you could just, you know, repeatedly roll the button. The thing that took forever was choreographing a rolling button with a camera move and, you know, keeping it in focus and making sure it lands on a, you know, heating grate in the end. And so what we ended up doing was we after a long shoot day, we kept all the lights up and wrapped everyone. And my dad, Sebastian, my cinematographer, and I just spent most of the night rolling that button. And we did about 300 takes, I think, in the end. But it was exhausting, and I definitely learned a lot not to put more buttons in future projects.
And what went into the decision to try to do as much practically as possible as opposed to using CGI or just saying, yeah, we'll get it in post.
Yeah, I mean, because my dad taught me stop motion when I was 9, and my dad has a stop motion background, we just love practical effects. And we were also, you know, a very small movie. We truly did it the Blood Simple method, and we knew we had to do things practically to make them work. So that was a lot of the thinking behind it. I think now though I would love to have a VFX button, so I wouldn't have to go through that torture again.
Just wait for a Marvel movie to come up with the right button technology, and then you can
Exactly.
Button Man.
button
Yeah,
man.
Button Man, that's good.
Yeah.
Good.
Caleb, I don't want to give too much away about your character's arc, what he gets into, but you have an incredibly fascinating character here. Were there any scenes that were particularly challenging for you to pull off? Because a lot of your character, especially like that diner scene, is like heavily like kind of facial expressions, or was it just anything else that you had really had to work to achieve?
Well, it wasn't challenging because Freddie is a great director, so it just made it very fun. The diner scene was definitely a big scene for us to do, and what was so fun was watching Freddie conduct the scene, um, because we did it in a lot of we did a lot of one takes throughout the entire scene, even though it gets split up into once it's edited together. But for each character, you do coverage of one long take. And because there was so much involved, it felt like Freddie, the director, was almost like my co-star in some ways. And he was like almost like in the scene with me, conducting the various pieces of it. And it was an amazing experience and an experience I haven't really had with any other director who's able to guide a performance the way he did without distracting the performance, but elevating it at each point, which is so rare. And again, I don't know how you figure that out at such a young age. I'm still trying to figure that out. I'm convinced he's wearing a mask and that he's like 80 and he's actually
Caleb
Francis Ford Coppola and he's about to rip it off or something.
Calum is too kind because he's you know giving me way too much credit. It was so easy to work with him and John, and specifically in that scene, because all I had to do was put the camera down and they both did their thing for, you know, 15 minutes, and I think both of you only did about one take. So it was very easy for me. Calum is too kind.
Freddie, there's a lot of very intricate scenes outside of the button, but just like threads, and then something's pulling on the thread, and we're seeing that. Did working with such just a delicate prop like present any challenges, or how did you go about making sure everything like flowed smoothly on camera?
Yeah, so like I mentioned, my dad and I have a stop motion background. So we just had way too much fun sitting in our backyard with thread and cardboard guns and my mom would be an actor. We basically recreated every scene, every Rube Goldberg scene and scheme that you see in the film in my backyard. And then we would shoot them practically the same way that they're shot in the movie and distribute it to the entire crew and the entire cast to essentially show, these things work. Of course, the film is very heightened in nature, but everything does work practically because we needed it to. And a lot of people, or some people ask, is thread really that strong? Can it really, hold that weight? And it actually is. And I have to say that because we have a sewing machine sponsor, Bernina, and a thread sponsor, Metler, and their products. I can I can attest to the fact that they are very strong. And so we built everything at home and showed it to the crew and cast. And so everyone was united behind the schemes so we could elevate them with performance.
Thank you both so much for your time today. My last question is for both of you. I know the film debuted last year at South by Southwest and went to some other festivals. What's that process like? Seeing it, within maybe I don't know if you were how many festivals you each were physically attended, but seeing it from an audience like a year ago, and then seeing it throughout the year, and now finally it's coming out for everyone to see. Do you notice different things every time you rewatch this film?
I'm curious, Calum, do you wanna go first?
Well, for me, it's kind of surreal because I was such a fan of the short film. So it's almost like I was in a remake of a movie in some ways. It's almost like it's like a film that I was a fan of. Like it's to me, it's my version of I love Star Wars and now I get to play in the Star Wars world. Like I love this short film and now I get to enter that short film and actually be a part of it. So watching it on the big screen was very surreal for me because it it felt a little bit strange to see myself in a space that I'd already seen before. It was very fun and very fulfilling, but I just kept thinking, I hope I didn't screw up the feature version. And of course, Freddie did such a good job. You couldn't screw it up.
Uh, he's too kind. For me, it's really hard to. This journey is so long, and I always knew that feature filmmaking is a marathon. Um, but to give context, I directed the film when I was 21, and now I'm 24, and it's finally coming out in theaters. And so it's been really cool to feel like, I've been growing up with the film, and I've learned so much, and it's just been so exciting to see it get seen. Um, but I also think I'm a little bit too close to it because I edit my own work and it took 10 months to edit it. So now I have no objectivity anymore. But it's just such an honor that you're taking the time to watch it and talk with us. Uh, it just means so much to me.